Thank you very much. We are here today to talk about the impending furloughs at the USCIS. Plainly stated, these furloughs would be a terrible catastrophe for every single worker and their family. Terrible catastrophe. In the midst of this pandemic, when the Congress of the United States, rightly, with Republicans and Democrats, is sending trillions of dollars in aid to individuals, aid to unemployed, aid to businesses, that at that moment we would send home people who've worked 20 and 30 years without any pay. This would be devastating for these families in Franklin and Chittenden County. Absolutely devastating. And how can we turn our back on folks who've been loyal public servants for so many years when the government understands that trillions of dollars are necessary to keep our businesses afloat through this COVID crisis that is not the fault of any people here? So this is wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. And Senator Leahy and Senator Sanders and I are going to do everything that we possibly can to reverse this terrible decision by USCIS. Terrible decision. There's two things that we're working on together. Number one, I'm co-sponsoring legislation with colleagues who represent folks in a similar situation around the country. Here in St. Albans, we've got about 1,500 workers, about 1,100 who are full-time government employees, and about 400 who are contract employees. Every single one of them has a family. Every single one of them is absolutely dependent on that paycheck, and every single one of them is being affected because if this goes through, we're turning our back on what happened to them as a result of COVID. There is no excuse for these furloughs, no excuse whatsoever. So number one, I'm co-sponsoring with colleagues bipartisan legislation that would provide a supplemental appropriation to help get USCIS through this and completely avert any justification for furloughs. Second, Senator Leahy, in his role as Vice Chair of the Appropriations Committee in the Senate, along with Senator Tester, discovered that in fact there is not a deficit at USCIS. There is a surplus. There is a surplus. So the money is there to continue paying the salaries of these hardworking folks here in Franklin County. And by the way, our first and foremost concern are the families, the workers. But be sure to understand something. We lose 1,500 salaries. This is a devastating blow to the economy of Vermont, particularly Franklin County and Chittenden County. And the last thing we can be doing when there's so much difficulty in our economy as a result of COVID is throwing 1,500 people out on the street and taking their salaries and their incomes that they spend in local stores, that they use to pay their rent or their mortgage, that they used to pay their utility, to feed their families, to take that money out of circulation. It's going to be real harm on those families. It's going to be real harm on the economy of Chittenden and Franklin County. This proposed furlough is unnecessary and it's unjust. And we are determined to resist this and keep these people working. It is a challenge. And none of us can predict what's going to happen. But we know that we're doing the right thing to stand up on behalf of these loyal, dedicated public servants who are being left behind during this COVID crisis. So we have with me today to speak about this, in addition to John Tracy from Senator Leahy's office and Kate Becker Van Haste from Senator Sanders' office, we have Kelly Robtoy, we're going to start with Danielle Spooner, the AFGE Council 119 president, representing the government workers here at USCIS. And she'll be followed by Kelly Robtoy of UE Local 208, and she's the president, representing the close to 400 contractors who are doing the work right here. Danielle, you want to come on up? Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Danielle, and I represent the 14,400 employees, USCIS employees across the country and around the world. We have people that are in Guam and mostly the Central American nation, and they are stuck where they are. So the agency is not bringing anybody back. It's like time stood still. My team, I have a team of 10 individuals, and my team has been working since we found out about the furloughs at the end of May. And it's my team that got the Congressman Fortenberry and Cleaver together to create the bill that we're all trying to push through Congress right now. We cannot be furloughed, and it would devastate a lot of the areas across the country because, like, St. Albans, Vermont has a service center, Lincoln, Nebraska has a service center, and they're kind of in rural places. So and there are, I believe, 281 separate offices across the country and across the world. So this will impact every one of you. And I just want to mention that if we don't have a legal immigration program, the only thing that's left is an illegal immigration program, because people will come to the United States. And the people that come to the United States legally in the asylum and refugee programs, in the student programs, in the specialized worker programs, these people contribute to the economy. The foreign students, they pay their tuition. They eat at the corner restaurant. They contribute to the economy of the United States. And at one time, I wholeheartedly believed if we didn't have the foreign students, our entire school system would just collapse because they contribute that much. I don't believe that when people look at the things and the work that we do, and Kelly as well, realize the impact that we have on day-to-day living. Asylum workers coming here. My doctor, prime example of an asylum person, she immigrated to the United States under the asylum program. Her parents opened a small business. The basis of any economy is the small business. She is a doctor, and every one of her siblings, all 9, went to school and are professionals. So when you look back at how devastating this is, you have to look at the economy, because that is where it's going to hurt the most. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly?
Good afternoon. My name is Kelly Robtoy. I am the president of UE Local 208. My union represents 320 contract employed by Silex here at the Vermont Service Center. Nationally, the UE represents nearly 2,000 employees of federal contract workers who perform vital support for USCIS and the Department of State. We work in Vermont, California, Nebraska, Illinois, New Hampshire, and Kentucky. We manage files, data enter, handle the mail, process the receipt fees, and do form review and quality control checks to assist federal government employees. If you are a refugee, asylee, foreign worker, or dreamer, A UE member somewhere has processed your petition. We here today stand with Congressman Welch in demanding the immediate authorization of emergency funding to support the essential work of USCIS. Our members are worried. I'm worried. Expanded unemployment insurance is ending. No second stimulus check is on the way. And we are now facing the possibility of massive layoffs at the Vermont Service Center. If we do not have these local jobs, there are not adequate sustaining jobs to replace them in Franklin County. The loss of our jobs will be felt in our local and state economies. Our members will not get what we are paid now in unemployment benefits, and we will lose our medical insurance. Our local businesses that have already been affected by COVID-19 pandemic will feel the loss. If members are furloughed or there is a layoff, they won't have money to shop or order out, and the local businesses will suffer. If USCIS must furlough workers, it will not be long before contract employees will follow. With COVID-19 already affecting so many parts of our state and its workers, the time for action is now. We must take immediate measures to prevent a bad situation from getting even worse. It is time that USCIS receives the funding it needs to move forward during this pandemic. A bill needs to be passed to continue the operations of our legal immigration system to support the system workers, both as contractors and its federal employees. The Trump administration needs to submit an immediate request to Congress for funding USCIS so urgently needs. We are proud to provide an invaluable service to our country. We hope that we'll be allowed to continue this service. We thank Congressman Welch for his support on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. John Tracy, on behalf of Senator Leahy.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Congressman Welch, for bringing us all together on this. First of all, Senator Leahy has long valued the work that USCIS employees do for the country and for the state of Vermont. And these furloughs will impact far beyond just the workers of USCIS. It'll impact their families and the communities in which they live. And there's no need to have that furlough. As Congressman Welch mentioned, Senator Tester and Senator Leahy sent a letter yesterday to the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. They have acknowledged they'll have a surplus that will get them through FY20, which ends September 30th. So there's no need to have the furlough. Now, they do have an expected shortfall in fiscal year 21, and Senator Leahy is committed to working on that. But there's no need for a furlough now. They have a surplus through the end of this fiscal year. Senator Leahy, for months, has been urging the Republican leadership in the Senate to take up legislation to get the funding that USCIS needs. Now that the Senate is back in session, the hopes are that they'll begin discussions on the next COVID-19 response bill, and Senator Leahy will work very hard to make sure that funding for USCIS is included in there. However, we need to make sure that the money that is appropriated goes to where it was appropriated for, that the administration doesn't take that funding and divert its use for something else. So, you have worked very hard as employees to make us have an immigration system we can all be proud of, to open borders as we have been, welcoming people. You help with benefits for immigrants, American citizenship, screening asylum seekers. That work is incredibly important and valuable. And so Senator Leahy will do all he can do to make sure you have the funding to continue that work so we can continue to have an immigration system that we're proud of in this country. And again, so thank you for the USCIS employees for what you do. And Peter, thank you for bringing us together.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. And Kate Becker Van Haste on behalf of Senator Sanders. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Congressman Welch, for having me here today on behalf of Senator Sanders. Thank you also to Danielle and to Kelly, who do such a great job representing our contract and federal workers here at USCIS. The work that they do is incredibly important to all Vermonters. We may not see them every day, but we see their work throughout the year in support of Vermonters. I know Senator Sanders would want to be here today himself, but he is in Washington. As John Tracy mentioned, the Senate is back in session working on the Defense Authorization Act and then hopefully moving on to some further federal response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Senator Sanders stands on the side of workers, plain and simple. We have got to keep an immigration system that works for the American people. We cannot allow anti-immigrant policies to be what decides whether or not our Vermont workers are able to continue in their jobs. As Congressman Welch mentioned, and as Danielle and Kelly both shared, every single one of us in Vermont will feel the impact if these workers are furloughed. Not just those who are seeking foreign worker visas, who are seeking asylum, but our local stores and retailers who are already reeling from the impacts of COVID-19 are going to be further hurt by an additional 1,500 people out of work. Our state cannot afford it, our country can't afford it, and our legal immigration system can't afford it. So Bernie stands with Senator Leahy, with Congressman Welch, in finding a bipartisan, thoughtful solution to this situation that will protect all of our Vermonters. So thank you again, Congressman Welch, for having me here today, and I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Thank you very much. Any questions for any of us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to talk a little bit more about the legislation. My understanding was that it was supposed to give like immediate funding to
That's
USCIS.
correct.
Is that still the case, even though now we've learned that there isn't a deficit?
Yeah, we're operating on two fronts. I mean, Senator Leahy discovered that, in fact, they have the funds to continue paying, so there's no justification whatsoever. But that'll end at a certain point because the visa applications are down, and it's a unique funding revenue stream that's based on a surcharge on the applications, and those are way down. So the likelihood is that we would need both Senator Leahy's effort to apply that surplus to continue making payments, and we would need our legislation in the House to supplement funding as this continues.
Have we heard anything from USCIS yet? Or?
We haven't. They've been unresponsive. I mean, I want to step back a minute here. This is not just about USCIS. It's really about them and each of the families who are working in their jobs. That's really, really critical. But COVID has affected every single American. And the response that we should be taking is to do everything possible to mitigate that impact on families and on small businesses and on the states. Because we've got to just get ourselves through this so on the other side, we can come back to normal. And when we've had $2.5 trillion from the House bill and the Senate bill, and now we've got a $3 trillion bill that has as its goal trying to mitigate that economic harm all across the country, we're going to leave these folks here in St. Albans behind? That's outrageous, and it's unnecessary, and it's unjust. That's really what's at stake. This is about COVID. It's not about performance issues. It's not about reorganization. It's not about efficiencies. It's about COVID. And the USCIS, instead of adapting to the circumstances, which means that we protect our workers because we're going to need them when we come out on the other side, is throwing up its hands as though there's no solution. And they have the money now, and they can get the money in the future. Yes, sir.
What pressure can the Vermont delegation kind of put on USCIS to actually use this surplus? Because as you said, they've kind of been unresponsive. Is there an indication whether or not they're going to actually use that surplus?
Well, there's two things. I mean, that's a very good question. They haven't, as I understand it, John, they haven't answered Senator Leahy yet. Is that correct? Right. But Senator Leahy is the vice chair of the Appropriations Committee, so Vermont has always been well served by having our Vermonter in that position. Secondly, in the House, there are a number of my colleagues who represent areas that are immediately affected. And we're combining forces, and there's some strength in unity. One of the challenges we have in all candor is that these workers are located in operational centers in various places around the country, but not in everybody's congressional district. So those of us who are in an area like here where we've got 1,500 wonderful Vermonters who are affected, we hear it, we get it, and we proselytize with our colleagues. But that's the challenge.
Peter.
Yes, this woman here, I'm sorry.
In terms terms of the legislation, where are you on that timeline? Do you have an estimated time that might go through?
You know, here's how this would work on a practical level. The bill is in, it goes through committee, then it would go to subcommittee and committee. It won't work that way. There are negotiations now underway between the House and the Senate on the $3 trillion package that the House passed and the Senate is considering. And the way that this would be done on a practical level would be to include what we're trying to accomplish in this legislation in those negotiations. That's the practical approach. So all of us will be advocating. Senator Leahy always plays a major role in these negotiations, and as you hear from Mr. Tracy, he's on this, okay? And Bernie, likewise, is total. I spoke to Bernie before he returned to Washington, and he is totally behind whatever it takes to keep these folks working. I'm sorry, yes, sir.
Yesterday, while speaking with the governor, I asked how Department of Labor was preparing for these layoffs, and I was told that they don't have the required information from the feds to be able to expedite payments if these furloughs do continue. So I'm wondering what you and the two senators have done to ensure that information is being expedited to get to the Department of Labor.
Well, again, let me be candid. I saw that story, and let me tell you my reaction to that story. I was really outraged at USCIS. I mean, who are they to not respond to the governor of the state of Vermont, who's making an inquiry on behalf of 1,500 of his citizens? And we in Congress can push and cajole, and we can pass legislation. But if you've got an administration that just basically doesn't care, we can't make them care. I mean, there's a backstory here, which we're all suspicious of. We know that the administration has a very hostile attitude towards immigration. But I think the point that you made, you've got a legal system or an illegal system. It's going to happen one way or the other. This is the backbone of a legal system of immigration. And I don't know how much that is a factor in the administration's unwillingness to do the right thing by these employees.
So,
yeah.
But back to what have you or the senators done to try to get some of that information to the state?
Well,
anything yet?
No, what we're doing is trying to make that information not be necessary.
Well, I understand that, but in the event that it is necessary, we're going to have 1,100 residents in Vermont that aren't going to get unemployment payments in a timely manner because they can't get the information from the feds. So is it not like a dual spoke kind of thing, or are you just putting all your eggs in one basket?
We are definitely putting all our eggs right now in the basket of keeping folks on the job. That's where we're at. Yeah.
Peter?
Yes. Hi, Pat.
Hi. Sorry I was late. Got a little messed up. I'm not sure if you may have answered this earlier, if Mr. Tracy might need to answer this, but I know the layoffs originally were intended because they had projected fiscal problems and such. So how did they end up with a surplus, particularly with the fact that, with the closure of the border and stuff, we probably had less immigration coming in and all of that, so less fees and stuff. So how did it go from we're having, this massive budget shortfall to now having a surplus, and yet they're not changing tact?
Well, I'm going to let John Tracy answer that because it was Senator Leahy's office that pursued this. But what I understand is it was carry forward money, so they had some existing funds, and they could use those to continue making payments to employees. Now, that's not a sustainable situation forever. So that's where we would need some supplemental funds that the House bill would pass. But John, do you want to answer that?
When they came in earlier in the year, they said they were expecting a shortfall of $571 million. But because the Appropriations Committee has been trying to find out where the money is, what the need is, they've let us know that there is now a surplus at the end of FY20. Now, the $1.2 billion they've asked for in an emergency supplemental I assume that's a combination of what they thought at first was going to be an FY20 deficit plus what they expect to be an FY21 deficit. So they have the funds to get through FY20. They don't need to furlough employees. That runs till September 30. And providing the Senate gets to work on the next COVID package, which we're certainly optimistic they're going to do this week. In fact, I just emailed our legislative director for have the Republicans released the bill yet? She said not yet. Now that's a bill that they haven't worked with Democrats on. As Congressman Welch noted, the House passed the HEROES Act, and I believe there are discussions going on between the Speaker of the House, Senator Schumer, and some of the Senate. But once that's released, then we'll be able to get in the nuts and bolts. So part of the Appropriations Committee job is to find out where the money is, find out what you really need. There hasn't been an emergency designation by the White House yet as to the need for the funding, which says something in and of itself. But the delegation will do the best they can to make sure the funding will be there going into FY21.
So if it's the case where we now have the surplus and the furloughs, from what you guys are saying, are not necessary, are we going to run in, and if you can, theoretically prevent the furloughs right now, are we theoretically going to run into the same problem 6 months down the road?
I would suggest that USCIS can end the furloughs now because they have the money to get them through September 30. So there's no need for an August furlough. And then on the next COVID package, there'll be legislation to deal with what USCIS needs to continue their operations. And as Congressman Welch and Catherine pointed out, with the restrictive immigration policy, it's a fee-driven organization. And with the lack of incoming, you don't have those funds. So hopefully we can get back to our values as Americans and openly welcome people who want to be citizens of this country.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Can I get a clarification on the surplus money? Is it money that they typically carry over year after year? You said it was carryover money. Is it something that they typically carry over from one budget year to another?
I don't know. I don't know.
Like
maybe John knows specifically, but all agencies sometimes will have a year-end surplus, and then that sometimes it would be carried forward.
Yeah.
I mean, what I understand was discovered by Senator Leahy is that their assertion that they were out of money turned out to be not, untrue. They have money. That actually gives us a lot of room. This decision can be reversed. This is the point here, all right? Right now, there's no need financially to have these furloughs go into effect. There's funds there to pay the salaries of these folks. We would have to deal with this going forward at some point. But that's the case with everybody in this country who's being affected by COVID. We cannot have a situation occur where suddenly all these people whose services we're depending on for our immigration system have to scurry and find some ways to cope and survive for an indefinite period of time. And then when the lights go back on, where are they? We've got this trained and dedicated workforce. We don't want to lose those folks and that service and that experience. So this is just really bad management at USCIS. And you've got a Congress that's willing to step up and appropriate funds to make certain that good, hardworking folks stay on the job. Thank you. One last.
Can you just remind us of the surplus number? What's the specific surplus amount that they're carrying over?
I don't have that number right now. Appropriations Committee was made aware by USCIS when they asked that there is a surplus. I couldn't give you that exact number right now.
But the Appropriations Committee is sure that it's enough to cover the rest of
They feel confident that they have enough to get through FY20. And I've got copies of the letter if you want. I'll share with you.
Do you know roughly operational timeline as far as how long that money, if you're saying it'll carry over for 30 days, would it carry over for 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
The understanding I have is that it'll get them through FY20, which ends September 30. I don't know if there'll be more left over that or not, but they do have to get to work on FY21 because they know there's going to be a shortfall. And again, USCIS has been not living within their budget for 3 years now. The COVID pandemic added to what was already a problem significantly, but there have been issues around funding and living within their budget for 3 years prior to this. So,
Thank you. Appreciate you all coming out.